Yo. All right. Look, I am pretty new to this, so I'm just sort of sussing this stuff out today, to be honest with you guys. Yeah, first official live stream. Let me just kind of see if I can fix the camera setting up. A little bit better. Maybe just I have the light on. All right. Well, look, I don't even know if this is working or what's actually going on right now, but I am just gonna rock on with this. So, if you're in the live chat, is this working? Man, let me know because I am just sort of sussing this out, and this is like the first time doing this, so I've got no idea if I'm getting it right. I have had help trying to get it all right, and basically YouTube and Google to help it out. All right, Alex McDonald on the chat says clear as day. Thanks, Alex. I mean, I will obviously get the file after this is done to see exactly what it's like. And also, how's the audio? So if you're watching, I've got no idea how many people are watching. I've got no idea if it sounds good, if it looks good, but I'm just here. I'm out here doing it. So, yeah, anytime you can kind of let me know with regards to how it sounds or how it looks, like that'd be great. This is still a learning process for me with regards to all this tech stuff and everything like that. So it is, I guess your patience is greatly appreciated. Here we go. Turkey's Nest says that audio sounds great. Awesome Turkey. Audio is perfect, mate. Audio and visual is synced perfectly too. Alex, thank you very much. Guys, Turkey's Nest and Alex McDonald, thank you very much for the feedback. That means I've kind of got it, somewhat to where I wanted it to be. Yeah, so let me just see if I can quickly chuck this on the socials to see if we can get some people across to have a look right now. Yeah, 1 second with me, guys. Just having a look at this. One second, stick with me. Then we're going to get into sorry, just appreciate it. There we go. It's as good as the norm show, just not at 90 degrees per normal camera angle. So what do you need my camera angle straighter? Let me just 1 second, guys. Sorry, just gotta. No, the angle is fine. Just recognizing that you guys normally film straight on. Yeah, like that. So I'm usually looking like that, but I am looking at, like, I've got two screens here, so it is somewhat different. All right, that's up, because the chat and everything's over here. The chat and everything's over here, as well as like the stats and everything from last night's game. So I will kind of be going back and forth from the camera to the screen over here on my left. Joe Millennium says, congrats on your career, mate. Who do you think will win tonight, Dogs or Chooks? Man, Chooks for sure. Chooks are in form. Yeah, 100%. Seren Tivu. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Looks good, Chad. Appreciate that. But all right. Look, let's get into last night's game, shall we? Absolute wild game last night. Panthers versus Storm. I mean, these games are always high-quality games. Two high-quality teams with high-quality players and high-quality coaches as well. Just sifting through the match report with regards to the stats. We'll go through, I guess, some of the stats before we get into some of, obviously, the key takeaways from the end of the game and how crazy that was with Harry Grant and the Penrith Panthers and obviously the charge down and everything like that. So some of the big stats coming out of the game, obviously Dylan Edwards, 288 metres. I mean, he's always impressive running the ball. 288 is solid. Have a go at this from the Panthers back five. 288, Dylan Edwards. 168, Thomas Jenkins. 166, Isaac Tago. 181, Casey McLean. 242, Brian To'o. Far out. That is just insane. That's what you kind of come to expect from the Penrith Panthers. Their back three, 698 metres run combined. Centres, 347 metres. That just is a team that just gets out of their own end. Their back five absolutely just doing work. And you add on to that, Blaze Talangi, who ran the ball. I thought he ran the ball pretty much. It was almost like he was thinking run first every time he got the ball last night, which was ultra impressive, I thought. Cleary had 73 metres, and then we move into the forward pack for the Panthers. Leota, 130. Lindsay Smith, 88. And he probably... I mean, his numbers are a little bit down because he was kind of, to me, obviously, there was no Zayo in their team last night. So he was the man. You could clearly see he was the guy that was doing all the ball playing when they were in the middle of the field. He touched the ball a lot. He passed the ball a lot. I mean, I would like to see how many sort of... let me just see if I can find how many receipts Lindsay Smith had. Yeah. So, yeah. He had 27 touches of the ball, almost double the touches of any other forward, and he had 19 passes. So there you go. Obviously replacing the Azayo. And his ball playing for a big man is actually quite good. I feel like, when he goes to the line, he can tip on, he can play out the back. I feel like for a big man, that's really, really impressive. So obviously, 19 passes is probably much higher than he was obviously playing that 13 role without number 13 on his back. And I thought he did a really good job. So usually it's kind of Eisenhuth plays that role as well when he comes on the field for the Panthers. He's got a pretty good passing game for a big man. Some of the other numbers coming out of the game, Liam Martin, 104 metres. Garner, 107. Papali'i, 109. Liam Henry, 103. And Scotty Sorensen, my guy, scored an absolutely awesome try, 107 off the bench in 51 minutes. So Sorrow thought he scored a really, really impressive try late in the game. Moved to the edge, then moved back to the middle. I thought he was really nice. On the other side of the ball, on the other side of the ledger, we've got for the Storm, Munster obviously moved to fullback. I haven't seen Munster play fullback for a couple of years. Actually, I've obviously seen, I've seen that happen with Munster. It was just normal for him to play fullback, even though, he just looked a little bit older. But obviously still getting the job done. 197 metres he ran for. Looked like he just was going anywhere and just enjoyed himself, to be honest. So I thought he did a relatively good job. Coates, 230 metres, man. He was awesome. He was great. Coates was solid. What else we got here? Green Anderson, 84 metres. Nick Meaney, 134. Marion Seve, 114 metres with the goggles on. Man, just want to give a massive shout out to Marion Seve to actually get yourself back onto the field with the goggles on after an injury that potentially could have stopped his NRL career. I thought that was extremely impressive. Marion Seve, pretty sure he copped a boot to the eye earlier in the season playing New South Wales Cup for North Sydney Bears, and he's back playing in the NRL with the goggles on. There's obviously a couple of other guys have worn goggles before, and yeah, I thought he was great. Who else we got there? We've got Jonah Pezzett, who started at 6, obviously went Munster moving back to fullback. Kicked a awesome 40-20 last night. Fire out, that was beautiful. Tyrone Wishart, 107. Stefano, 135. Josh King, 65. Sean Bloor, 60. Eli Katoa, 124. Trent Liero, 166. And their bench, which didn't have a massive impact. Joe Chan, 90 metres. Alec McDonald, 30. Tui, 51. And Atavalu, 29. So the bench probably not having as much of an impact for the Storm. But look, I thought this was a high-quality game. Possession ended up 52% to Penrith, 48% to Melbourne. And the completion rate, well, this is where you just know it's a high-quality game. 85% completion for Penrith. And that was like almost like that was high as for much of the game. I think they completed 22 of their first 22 sets for the Panthers. They had 1 incomplete set in the first half and then 4 incomplete sets in the second half. So there was a couple of errors. I think Dylan Edwards had a couple of errors late in the game, which really gifted the Storm field position late in kind of regulation time. So they ended up completing 36 sets, and they had 6 sets incomplete. So 85%, which is great numbers. Which is, you know, if you're at 85, usually you win the game. I mean, or you're in a really tight, close game. The Storm just completed 89%, and this is where, you know, it was kind of the Storm had 1 incomplete. The Panthers had 1 incomplete set in the first half, and then 4 in the second. Where the Storm had 3 incomplete sets in the first half, and then 1 in the second. So 1 incomplete set in the whole of a half of football is extremely, extremely impressive. And the Panthers, well, they just dominated field position in the whole first half. They were absolutely dominant. They obviously completed at a very high rate, and the Storm were just kept away from the Panthers' try line. So I thought that was really, really impressive by the Panthers in the first half. The way they were playing, the way they were still moving the ball in, like, obviously it's been raining a lot in Sydney as well over the past, 2 weeks. And the wet weather football is a different style of football. Like, it's almost harder to attack, and easier to defend. So just goes to show, obviously, what a high-quality game. Let's have a quick look at the chat and see if we got any questions here before we kind of move on. Sarah and Tivy, Chad, could you, from a young age, analyse and break down the numbers? Seems to be an art to be able to do it. Look, I think as you get older... sorry, 1 second. Look, I think when I first started playing NRL, like, stats and numbers were like... they weren't even really a thing. Like, I think nowadays, like, guys are obviously, I'm looking through the numbers and things like that. And numbers, the stats aren't everything. They're not everything. They're just something to, like, talk about, I guess. But sometimes they do paint a picture of how the game went, and sometimes they don't. But what I will say is, like, I think like, when I first started playing NRL, you didn't have stats really that you were looking at. Like, I wasn't looking at how many line breaks I had or how many tries I had or how many kick meters I had, because you just didn't know early in my career. And it was literally like you either win the game or you lose the game. Like, that was a long time ago. But I feel like stats nowadays, especially like with you guys probably playing like Super Coach and stuff, that's become more prominent. super coach, obviously you get points for stats and tackles and missed tackles and all that stuff. So, stats are read into much more these days, where back in the day they weren't really read into at all. So that's a good question. But keep them coming. If you got any more questions, just drop them in the chat and I'll see how many I can answer. Xavier Coates try. Yeah, Xavier Coates. I thought it was a try. I thought he regathered before he before the ball came into contact with the Panthers player. Look, you just see Brian Toto just absolutely gave it his best shot, didn't he? Obviously not as tall as Coates, but what a ploy it is to just kick to someone like Xavier Coates. It reminds me of someone like Daniel Tupou, just a weapon. Like, you get to last play, you may have been defended, and then you just know, like, your first option is just to go to like someone like Coates or Tupou and just give them a chance to get upstairs. Obviously, Coates has just shown what he can do in the air, and I thought he was amazing on the weekend. His form has been excellent. The way he carries the ball as well has been really impressive. So he had a great game. Let's move on to some of the other stats coming out of the game. So total errors for each team. Penrith made 8 errors, while the Storm made 4 errors. Dylan Edwards had 2. I mentioned them before. They came later on in the game. Obviously, errors were kind of limited in this game. So that's what you get from a high-quality game. So limited errors in tough conditions. It just goes to show, like, there is it doesn't matter if the conditions are poor, you can still get 2 high-quality teams coming in to play. And obviously there's so much on the line at the moment, so much more, like top 4 and everything. The Storm jumped into the top 4 last week with their win, so I know they're on an uneven amount of points. I'm just going to check the NRL live ladder, because that means if the Warriors win on the weekend against the Dragons tonight, they will then jump the Panthers back into 4th position. So big game for the Warriors. Dragons tonight. Obviously, Dragons playing well at the moment after a huge win for them last weekend. But yeah, let's get back to last night's game. A few more kind of takeaways out of the game. What else we got here? Just scrolling through some of the stats from last night's game. I guess play the ball timing. So Panthers average play the ball speed 3.43. Melbourne 3.34. So Melbourne average a slightly quicker play the ball speed. Missed tackles. Melbourne had 40 missed tackles, so obviously that's quite high. Panthers had 32 missed tackles. Effective tackle, both at 90%, so obviously very good tacklers here. Touches, receipts of the ball. I always like looking at this for like receipts, which is like just how many times you actually touch the ball. And it kind of just, I always like to look at it for like halves, I guess, because it just kind of just shows you like how much influence, I guess, you have on the game with regards to your touches and your involvement. So I spoke before about Lindsay Smith. He had 27 touches and 19 passes. Like, he was playing that more role of Isaiah Yeo. Excuse me for a second. I'm just having a quick drink. And yeah, so other obviously touches, like Nathan Cleary, 72 touches of the ball, which is just crazy. That'll be probably the highest all weekend, I reckon. Maybe Mitch Moses, he might have more, obviously, because he plays such a dominant role for Parramatta. So, like Blaise Talangi had 36 touches, so like half the touches. Blaise Talangi's touching the ball half the times as Cleary. So Cleary's obviously got that massive influence. Obviously, I mean, Cleary had 23 kicks, so 72 of those touches, like 23 of those were kicks of the ball. He kicked for 676 metres, had one forced dropout, and he passed the ball 42 times. So, you look on the other side of the ledger, like Jonah Pezzett, 59 touches, Tyrone Wishart, 51. Pezzett had 16 kicks, 641 metres. I thought his kicking game was great last night, Pezzett. That 40-20, man, that was beautiful. And I just love the confidence to just go for it, to be honest. Like, for someone who's only played a handful of games so far this season, still growing in his role, I guess, as a starting halfback. But I like the look of him, and I think he'll land somewhere with regards to obviously the signing of Jerome Hughes is going to impact his ability to grow. I feel like he will need to move and go and play elsewhere to, get a bit more of an opportunity in first grade consistently. But 72 touches for Cleary, which is ultra impressive. Harry Grant, usually the hookers are obviously the most highest because they're touching the ball the most amount of times in the game. Let's just go straight to the end, shall we? Let's just go straight to the end of what actually happened. And we'll start off in let's start off in regulation time when the Panthers went for a field goal at the end of the game. So, here we go. One second. So the last 10 minutes of the game, like I spoke about, Dylan Edwards, he had his errors late. Error 70th minute. Then Harry Grant had that error on the 72nd minute. Casey McLean had an error. Then it starts to get interesting. So obviously a couple of months to the 2-point field goal option missed. Cleary had a missed field goal. And then now the penalty for Moses Leota standing in front of the field goal attempt. Now, does Harry Grant play for this? 100%, 100,000% he plays for this. There's no denying that. But the rule on this whole debacle, it changed this year. It was because there was blockers and everything for field goals, the NRL brought in this rule. So if you're going to blame anyone right now, blame the NRL, because I don't like this rule, because if you've got a guy like Leota, this to me, what happened was a penalty. I agree. But the rule, it gave Harry Grant an opportunity to milk it, because he sees him there standing in front of Cleary. He just runs straight into him. If he's not there or he's actually moving, he has a chance to kind of get out of the way. If he stood there and then kind of got out of the way. But the NRL, they made this rule about you can't have anyone standing in front. So if you're going to blame anyone, blame the NRL. Because, the old days where you'd have 3 blockers in front of you and whatnot. Look, I still think there needs to be some form of middle ground for this, because obviously, if you don't have anyone there, and you think about it as a normal play, because if you have someone running a line and then someone out the back, they're obviously an option to get the ball. So if they go out the back, it's obviously play on. So, yeah, I still feel like we need to find some common ground on that situation. But it was a penalty, and yeah, Harry Grant played for it. But that's Harry Grant's. He's trying to get his team to win, and he's trying to do anything he can to win. So I'm sure if you ask any of the Panthers players, would they have done the same thing? 100%. If you're in that position and you see a forward just standing there, you're going to do the same thing. And it's it is a tough situation, but if Moses Leota's not there, he still gets the kick away, I feel, and it's game over. So I feel like it's probably Moses Leota. He would know the rule. You can't be there. So if you guys had any thoughts on the chat, let me know. Any thoughts on that? I don't even know who's watching right now, but yeah, that was a dead set. That was a penalty. So I was all for that call there. I think it's a penalty. Storm's ball, and then we basically go to Golden Point. And this is where like it gets proper interesting. So if you saw the obviously the pressure that happens in Golden Point, like it is crazy. You get to the post, it's Golden Point. Obviously, you're going for the field goal. So both markers, both defenders on either side, your A and B usually are just sprinting off the line. Everyone's trying to stop the field goal. And Storm get to the black dot, and Harry Grant knows everyone's going for the pressure. And instead of throwing back to Munster, who's just standing straight behind the ruck, he throws a dummy, parts the bloody Red Sea, and goes straight through the middle. So, look, I thought that was an extremely impressive footy IQ moment from Harry Grant. And, look, I think this play had been spoken about before by Melbourne at training. Just with the way, if you see the reaction by Munster in the background, he's standing there, and it's almost like he's not surprised, because I reckon they've either spoken about it at training or they spoke about it on the field. Hey, if we get in that position there again, I'm gonna throw the dummy. Like, I just feel like it's been spoken about. Like, it would not surprise me. I think it's great game planning. I think it was great footy IQ, and just to have that footy smarts to say, hey, I've seen these markers. I know everyone does that in Golden Point. Like, I'm going to throw the dummy. And it was, if you notice as well, I'm pretty sure it was tackle 4. It wasn't last play, which is a perfect place for him to go, because if he throws the dummy and gets tackled, like, you've still got a tackle up your sleeve to either go for it again or go for the try or whatever it may be. And obviously, you can blame the Panthers markers and defenders, which is very, very tough blame. I don't think they should be on the blame at all, because at the end of the day, they're trying their absolute best after playing long minutes of football forwards to go and put pressure on the field goal kicker. So I think you kind of just have to stand there and kind of applaud Harry Grant for what he was able to do, and to score that try and to give the Storm the win in a huge game in the context of the season and for the Storm. And, I've said it a couple of times over the past couple of weeks with regards to where the Storm finish year after year on the season. It's like, it's just a given for them to finish inside the top 4. Currently sitting on 38 points, 16 wins, 5 losses. Man, it's like absolutely crazy. Like, well done to the Storm. Well done to Harry Grant. That's one of the best things I've ever seen. Simply Dev says, hey, Simply. Yeah, absolutely crazy game, crazy finish. And I don't know, I was just when I was sitting there at home last night, I was just sitting there watching it going, oh, like, what a wild finish. Absolutely wild finish. Like, I love stuff like that. It gives guys an opportunity to just stand up, and, you don't always need to play with, like, I mean, our game is so ruthless and so tough, but, like, it's also, like, the smarts of the game. Like, the smarts of the game are so, so important. If you got a smart guy who thinks constantly about the game, who has high footy IQ, who has been in situations before, who has noticed certain things and certain traits from teams and situations, and you have a way to combat that sort of stuff, like, to me, that's what Harry Grant's done in that situation. So, look, yeah, I was just like, watching. I just had what was I having? I had a lemon and ginger tea last night in my robe, sitting in the front room, going like this. Oh my God, that was absolutely crazy. So, yeah, well done to the Storm, Harry Grant. I said it before, giving him enough flowers today. So, but yeah, Storm is currently sitting 38 points at the moment. and that puts the Panthers 31. So Panthers 12 wins, 8 losses, and obviously that had broken their win streak now. So they've they're still in 4th position at the moment, but potentially will move out of the 8. Tonight Warriors play Dragons, 6 p.m. the first game, followed by the Roosters versus the Dogs, which is going to be a massive game as well. So huge. So we'll see how that kind of all plays out tonight. Some big games. If you've got any more questions just before we wrap it up, guys, send them through on the live chat, and I'll see what I can. Turkey's Nest says, I don't go for the Storm, but I had to applaud Mr. Grant. It was a great footy moment. Turkey's Nest, you are spot on. Absolutely, it was a great footy moment. I feel like it doesn't matter if you were a Storm fan or whatever. If you're a rugby league fan and you saw what they were able to do, crazy. You got to applaud that sort of stuff. So well done to him. Stevie W. Harry Grant is that guy when his team needs it. Stevie, you're spot on. 100% he's that guy. I feel like Harry Grant, this has been some of his best form I've seen him play in his whole career. I feel like he's playing lights out at the moment. So it's great to see his influence on the game, and he consistently plays big minutes, long minutes. Defensively, he's very sound, very strong, great line speed, but his ability to create with the ball, and obviously we spoke before about his footy smarts. Sarah and TV, what would Talon De Silva have done if he was in Grant's shoes last night? Well, Sarah and TV, that's a good question, but to me, I think if Talon De Silva was in that situation, he would have passed back to the halfback, because he's not that guy in their team at the moment. Mitch Moses is that guy. So Talon De Silva plays more of a role of service to Mitch Moses, where Harry Grant is kind of he's the captain. He's kind of got a license to play whatever he wants. And that's, I guess, when you play Parramatta, defensively, if you can stop Mitch Moses and his effect on the game, it puts a lot of pressure on other guys, where obviously he wears a lot of the burden, Mitch Moses, because he is such a great player. Where at the Storm, you've got Munster, you've got Hughes, you've got Grant as well. So they all kind of share the load. But I feel like, to answer your question, if Talon De Silva was in that situation with Harry Grant, he probably passes the ball back to Mitch Moses, and Mitch Moses goes for the field goal. Any more questions before we wrap this up, guys? But this has been a lot of fun, just sort of chatting and going through last night's game. Another question, Chad. Did you know that when a team has the bye in the last round, they never make the final series? Has happened since the 80s, 90s. Well, the team with the bye in the last round this year is the Cowboys, and they aren't going to make the finals. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know too much about that, but you don't really want your bye last round, do you? Another question, Chad. Are you going into any coaching, mentoring roles post-footy? Yes, I am. I'm working on all that sort of stuff at the moment, so I'll have an update for you guys once that is all finalised. But, yeah, it's all happening in the background, working on all that stuff, which is fun, stressful, interesting, all at the same time. So we'll see how it all plays out. I feel bad for the spray Talon De Silva copped, but love the passion from Mitch. Yeah, look, it's I wouldn't feel bad about it. It's just part of the game. Everyone has a spray in them. Everyone gets sprayed. Everyone sprays others. It's just part of the business. You know what's going to happen when Talon De Silva, he will learn a lot from that last week. And obviously it's been blown up a fair bit because of social media and stuff and everything. But he'll get older, and then he'll probably spray someone younger as well. So, look, he's got a big future ahead of him. I wouldn't worry too much. It's just everyone just move on. It's that's what happens on the footy field. But it's I've seen people who don't really understand footy, saying calling HR and stuff like that. Our business is a different business. It doesn't work like that. You can't just call HR on people and complain and things like that. There's a lot of times in the business where it's just it's the business. It's a different business. Chad, you could be a Billy Bean type, the MLB Moneyball, Oakland A's put together NRL teams as an interesting. I don't mind that. Look, I definitely want to be involved around the game. Obviously, love the game, love the content game, love coaching, mentoring. I just love the game. So I feel like I've had a really good experience in the game so far. I've learnt a lot, and I would love to, like, you know, pass that knowledge on and help guys, you know, with their own NRL careers. I feel like, yeah, I've had a great kind of experience. You know, I've had success, I've had failure, I've had wins, I've had losses, and you know, I've had a 15-year career, and I'm very, very thankful for that. So, yeah, I'd love to still be involved in the game. So we'll see how it all happens. DDP versus Kazmat. Who have you got, man? I think Kazmat wins. What about you? But yeah, anyway, all right. Look, that's it, guys. Look, I appreciate if you're watching here, if you've joined in on the chat. Look, I really appreciate you guys sending in the questions. Hope you enjoyed today's little stream. This is the first time I'm actually doing this. I'll watch it back. I'll see how it goes, and hopefully, you know, we can do this maybe on Fridays moving forward, just from the Thursday night game and moving into the weekend. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, I've got it right. Hopefully, the audio and the video is okay. No doubt, you know, I'm still kind of learning a little bit of stuff. So, yeah, we'll see how we can make it better for you guys, and hopefully we can make it something special. So, we're going to end it there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel too. Appreciate that. Much love, guys. See you soon.